Armageddon war that will bring the absolute change to the world, that will usher in judgment of God to mankind will surely come. We said, according to our unsealed of the book of Revelation, that this will happen from 2033. God is not going to destroy the world or blow humanity out of this planet. No. God is just going to make a social world order change to create a way of God's judgment to the world. We said God is going to be using the deeds of our past, the present, and the next decades of our life, which will include the Third World War, to determine how the judgment will align. We said God used the seven churches in the book of Revelation 2 to 3 to symbolize how the seven continents of humanity are detailed, will characterize. In Matthew 25, verse 31 to 32, God says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the only angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his throne, and all the nations will be gathered before him. He will separate them one nation from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. This gives a proper illustration of the basis of God's judgment as a means of separating the good nations or race from the bad or evil nations or continents. In our first series of this documentary Armageddon Theory, the Book of Life, aka Judgment of Berlin Conference, we have been looking at the words of God to each continent. We remember that through our decoding of this book of Revelation, we said God used the seven churches in the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and 3, to summarize the characteristics of what are the past and present of the races of in each of the seven continents which humanity is now presently habiting. We started with the book Church of Ephesus, which God said God used as a simile for the continent of Asia. In our second episode, we talked about the Church of Samaria, which we said God used as a simile for the races on the continent of Australia and New Zealand. The third episode talked about the Church of Pergamos, which we said God used as a simile for the races of the continent of Europe. While at the fourth episode, which was on the continent, Church of Thyatira, which we said God used as a simile for the races on the continent of North America. In our fifth episode, we talked about the Church of Sardis, which we said God used as a simile for the races on the continent of South America. In our last episode, which is the sixth, which is on the Church of Philadelphia, which God used as a simile for the races on the continent of Africa. Now, today we'll be talking about the mysterious seventh continent, which the people of the world have misinterpreted as the continent of Atlantica. God does not count uninhabited land by man as a continent. It does not see a place where human does not assemble as a church. He used where a defined race or group of people gather, used as a society or nation or assembly. A building with no human spiritual gathering cannot be seen as a church, so cannot be seen as a continent. So Atlantica cannot be the seventh continent. This mysterious seventh continent is the Church of Laodicea, which God has used to symbolize or represent the islands in oceans or oceanians. I know you seem confused. By the time we go into these characteristics of this Church of Laodicea, you will be convinced that these islands in ocean or Oceanians are a continent of its own. Now, by the time we go through, you will understand why these continents are not in unification, why they are scattered all around the world, just as prophesied by God. Now, that is what he said we are put today in the book of Revelation. Now, first, Laodicea means being indifferent or half-hearted to religion or politics. This church also currently present in Turkey or Turkey as it is now known. The church is known to be the richest among the or wealthiest among the 7 churches, but lack in political or religional directions. They are not in unity in heart, just like the islands are not in unity, are scattered. Just like islands in ocean are the most naturally blessed in all nations, they are not polluted with chemicals, industrialization, overpopulation. The air they breathe are the most purest on all the continents. Their water is the most unpolluted, but this island lack political direction. They lack international political recognition. They lack self-recognition, just like Laodiceans. But what makes these Laodiceans and the island even more identifiable? First, this is the uniqueness of the spelling Laodicean and islands in the ocean. First, let's look at the 4 letters of Laodicea. The first letter L-A-O-D, and the one island I-S-L-N-D. Oh, we see that apart from the I-S that started the island and the letter O in Laodicea, which if changed to N, you discover it is the same as land of the island. If I-S is put to L-O-A and put, it remains the same thing as island. So we can see that maybe through misinterpretation or alphabetical error, that was how the N letter was changed to O. Now you can see that is the first identity. Now the 5th letter, which is the I, we can also interpret to be maybe a mistake, because if N is put, it will mean in. Now we have I. Now if N is put in S, means in. Maybe it was wrongly spelled or missing, just like the way land of the islands. Now let's look at the last 5 letters of the Laodicea, which is Shians. If we look closely, you can see it has the same smelling with oceans, just missing O. Maybe that is the way they put it loud in the beginning. So if you put the IS in brown Laodicea, put the 3rd letter of O, N, adding that N into the 5th letter, which makes it in, and using the O missing, we remove the loud to put in front of shields, which means the same thing as island in oceans. You see, that is how he uses to similarize it. He used it as a confusion to them, so that people will not get it. It is what called island, ocean, Oceanians. Let me tell you, this is not a mistake by God. This is deliberately done by God to hide the mysterious continent until the end time, While the true interpreter of this seal will be able to correct and direct people back to understand what mystery of the seals is all about. So nobody can put them, the seven continents, together except the interpreter alone. The seven churches of the book of Revelation, Laodicea, we have already tell you is what? Islands in ocean. But let's put these characteristics of these churches of Laodicea and put it in line with the islands in ocean. Then you know we are right in what we said, that is the mysterious seventh continent. Then we know we are the real interpreter. Now let's go. In Revelation 3:14, God said, He, the first, the faithful, and the true witness. Meaning that with this full interpretation of the church of Laodiceans to the continent of islands in ocean, meaning that this interpreter is the rightful one, that is the faithful, and the chosen person for this purpose, that is the witness. But because the interpretation must align with all the churches, especially the seventh continent, as God has said, to be the real witness. Continually, God said the end of the creation of God. Now you can ask, how is the island the creation of God? Yes, the islands in ocean which Laodicea represent is the best example of how God created your world in the beginning. Even from the book of Genesis, God was first created your world through one island or in an ocean. These islands, according to scientific research, erupt out of the ocean, beginning the generational creation of man. As according to Genesis, the Garden of Eden started as just what, a small continent, a island. This island is known as supercontinent or Panguai by what Alfred Wegener. This way explained that the creation of man started with the creation of one continent that even drifted among in the ocean and sometimes collide among each other. He called this movement continental drift. Simply put, all continents came from the revolution of one continent that evolved out of the continent of the ocean. This island or continent is later enlarged to what is now known as Akabolan, African. Check out 6th edition episode, you understand? Before breaking down or breaking out as supercontinental through volcanic eruption into other continents like Asia, South America, Australia. That is all from the south of the pole. While North America and Europe also broke away, and that is Euro-Asians also broke away in the North Pole. This theory is also related to plate tectonic theory, the big supercontinents. This was what God meant by islands in oceans or oceanians or Laodiceans being the head of creation of God. An example of how God started the creation of humanity and life in the beginning. In verse 15, God says that this church or continent is neither cold nor hot. This continent or current island on earth are neither cold or is not cold, in the sense that it is known that when a particle mold together, when a particle get cold, it get mold together like ice blocks, cold cement melt together to form earth, and so on. So cold element can be said to be what fuse in unity. This implies that these islands are not in unity or are not infused together. That is what it meant by neither cold. Like we have African as a union, European as a union, even other continents as unions. But these islands have no unity. They have no legal body as unity to represent them. They are seen as second class nature or observant even in the United Nations or fixed to other parts of other continents. The other thing is that this continent is neither cold because they're scattered around. They are not converged in one form. That is what it meant by they are neither cold as a continent. Since they are not fused together, it makes it hard for them to amalgamate as one for one body, meaning that they are neither what cold. Now, you see, they are not fused, so they are neither cold. Even with 200 islands in the world, they are still scattered. And the sense of not earth or are not earth. We know when a particle get in contact with high temperature, that is heat, they get scattered. This is what it meant by not what? Not earth. No, these islands are separated, scattered. They are supposed to be like earth, scattered, but still, they are not totally earth and scattered in the sense that they still have this similitude with them. No matter where they are, no matter what they are still called islands. They are still identified with that same word, islands, meaning in one form they still have unificational identity, making them still together in one form or the other. Even look at it. For example, we have Elizabeth Island, Christmas Island, Bonny Island, Victoria Island, name it. They still have that unificational identity. Even islands like Jamaica, Bali, Maldives, even with all the change of names, when they are to be identified later, they still call them what? Islands. No matter the change of name. There is this unificational name that still make them not totally scattered, nor or out. This reason why God said in the continuation of that verse that he would that you are rather cold or hot, so that he could easily place a good identification on them, a unificational identification, political body. In verse 16, God says, because you are lukewarm, meaning this act of not well represented in the United Nations General Assembly and in history of the world. This your attitude of not being concerned about your unification. This attitude of not being bothered about your sovereignty, singular sovereignty, making you looking lukewarm, even in presence of God. That is the attitude of the Laodiceans. Continue that verse. God says, are I neither cold or hot, so he will vomit you out of his mouth. This means because of your lukewarm attitude, God will not put any importance into your heritage or defense. He will not put a place of what as a body in his heart. That means vomiting you out of his mouth. In verse 17, God says, because you said I'm rich. Yes, in the sense that you are the world best, blessed, naturally blessed, and safest in the world. You are the most unpolluted materially, mentally, morally. You are pure in natural climates, especially oxygen. Rich in humanitarian energy. In continuation of that verse, and increase in goods. With the continuous increase in tourism, hospitalization, which is being brought into these islands because of the purity and the nature of these islands, which is what they call increase in goods. Especially when the rich world, rich foreigners are coming to this continent to bring hospitality, resource center, hotels, and modern technology, causing what they meant by increment in goods. That verse continue by saying that I had need of nothing. Even with all this increase of luxuries to you, you believe that you do not need anything. They still no need to unite. They believe they have no enemy. They are being helped to build their land and country without even bringing any resources for exchange. So they see no reason for their unification. They see no value for it since they don't have anything in exchange for all what they been brought into it. So no unification, no need to fight for their special needs according to them. But that verse also said that you did not know that you are wretched. Yes, with all these goods being brought to this island, they are still the wretched. Uncareful, this island are still under imperial rules. That is what I meant by wretched. Because all the foreign people bringing luxury into these places, into this island, and only using them as slaves to what? To give them pleasure. They are not interested in your self-development. They are not interested in bringing industries for your progress. They do not really want your financial independence. They are not investing in your intellectual development. They are not building in companies or trying to elevate you to the level of high advancement. They are only pressing you down. Even internationally, they can never bring like get in what program like Olympic or any other thing, World Cup to you. They don't want you to have liberty. So if you don't know, you are still wretched. For example, Chagos Island, Britain, an illegal colonial occupier, after failing to hand back the control of this island to the true owners. Britain had been accused of being acting as an illegal colonial master by refusing to hand back this remote island in this Indian Ocean, coming from Europe to control an island in Indian Ocean. The Shanghai Island were due to be given back to the Mauritius in the second week of November 2019, following an overwhelming vote at the United Nations General Assembly in May the same year. The foreign officer of Britain said it does not recognize Mauritius sovereignty over this island that belongs to this located 300 miles from the Maldives, which used to be a British colony. Britain insists it has every right to hold to this island, One of these islands is the Diego Costa Island, which holds the US military airbase. When they wanted to take over this airbase, they expelled thousands of these Chagosians away from this island in 1968 and 1974. They were sent more than 100 miles away to Mauritius and Seychelles Island, where they faced extreme poverty and discrimination. You see why God said you do not know you are wretched. That is what God meant in the conclusion of that verse, that they are miserable and poor, blind and naked, because they have no union to fight for their special needs. And they lack defense because of they are not united in unity. They have nobody to aid them in their issues, unrecognized, or programmed for by the United General Assembly, making them miserable, exploited, imperialized, meaning poor, unindustrialized, unschooled, that is blind, unorganized, ununited, making them naked. Verse 18, God says, He counsel you to buy from Him gold unified by fire. We all know gold is the ultimate prize of every athlete want to attain in the field of human race. God is advising you to make self-liberty, freedom, loose from bondage, from imperialism, bondage from this slavery. See a positivity to yourself. Have an extreme self-determination that's good. This can only be possible if you purify yourself. The purification of God take revolution by fire. That is good by fire. A revolution is what you need to take place before you can achieve your gold. That is gold purified by fire. The strength of resilience in able to wash away the cleanse or death on your gold to make it shine. In continuation of that verse, God says, so that you may be rich, so that you may be able to achieve your self-determination for real mental and physical independence, be truly rich, be having global recognition, global power, to be able to self-control your destiny, be truly rich. And God continues in that verse, and white in clothing, so that you may be clothed, meaning white. What we know, white means being free from external power, with no other color but yourself. True emancipation, so that you be truly clothed, so that you can also stand in front of the United Nations General Assembly as an entity of respected body in order to defend your special needs. This is what God meant by what? Being clothed, to cover your shame. So that, God said, so that the shame of your nakedness does not appear, so that you will not be marginalized, so that you will not be imprisoned on your nation, so that you have the emancipation of power, sovereignty, and not be seen as a second citizen, even on your island. So you'll be able to have your self-independence, meaning so that your nakedness does not appear. In conclusion of the verse, and God says, anoint your eyes clean so that you may see. That means take linking experience of anointing your eyes with the experience of other continents like Africa, South America, and other ones, on how they concluded their revolution in the rigorous way that brought independence to them, that made them be able to free from colonial and imperial power. So that you may see. Verse 19, God says, as many as he loved, he rebuked and chastened. Love of a father make him correct, that means rebuke, and advise, that is chasten a child. So God says, so therefore be zealous and what? Repent. In conclusion, to all the 7 churches now, the 7 continents that humanity now habits, Asia, Australia, Europe, Africa, South America, North America, and now the current islands in oceans, that is Oceanians. In God said in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, that behold, that he is at the door knocking, that is, if anyone, that is any of the 7 continents, hear his voice, that is, listen to this judgment, and open door, that is, make amendment to according to his advice, he will come into him and dine with him and continue to live with his dark continent, to live above. And in verse 21 he said, to him who overcome, that means who come to accept that necessary change, he will be able to sit with him. That is the person that continent is what will still be in orderly nation. That will not be in that will be in the continent of governance body. That will not be in the state of anarchy. That means other nations that will not listen will be affected by the state of anarchy, that which other many nations and continents will later come true. That is in his throne after year 2035. As I have also overcome as I sat down with his father in his throne on judgment. Verse 22, God finally said, he who has an ears, let him hear what God says to the churches now continent. God bless you.